Hi everybody, welcome back to another live stream. This time I'm already in the hotel, so not streaming from the ET7 anymore. If you caught my other live stream this morning, I was live streaming the report, going through the numbers, and I was still on the road. So thanks for everybody who was tuning in back then already. And now let's wait until this live stream fills up a little bit. We'll have the earnings call live streamed here in original, and I will give you my added commentary. So in the background you hear the music playing, and in 1 minute they should start with the call. The very beginning is always pretty boring. They're just going to read through all of the stuff that we possibly know already, especially if you have watched my first live stream already. Also would recommend, if you haven't watched it yet, then you better watch it. You can just go and watch the live recording, so you will see my live take at the earnings, the unprepared remarks regarding the report. Just to give a little bit of a summary here, yeah, it was a miss, and a miss both on the top line and the bottom line. So revenue slightly lower and earnings slightly lower than anticipated. However, we knew it's going to be a very bad report, and there was bad stuff in there. For example, the huge net losses, more than 835 million, I think. That's bad. They're burning through a lot of cash, so another billion gone on the balance sheet. But it's not having the impact of the money they raised with Abu Dhabi in there yet. So hopefully it's getting better. And we also have some reason why it should be getting better, because at least already the margins were better, the vehicle margin, not the gross margin, the vehicle margin. That means for every car they sold, they already earned more money again. But this should hopefully go to double-digit vehicle margins again. Yeah, so that was one of the positives. Then we had, of course, the outlook, and this call will be very much just about the outlook, I guess. Of course, we also get the whole analyst questions regarding the cost and so on.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen,
By the way,
and
it's
thank you for
starting in the
standing
background,
by
but I'll
for the
keep on
NIO
talking a little bit
Incorporated first quarter
until they're
2023
done
earnings
with the
conference
formal
call.
stuff there.
At this
And let
time,
me know in the
all
comments whether or
participants are
not you
in a
can hear
listen-only
everything
mode.
clearly.
Today's
Just on my
conference call
laptop
is
today,
being
I'm not at
recorded.
home, on the roads,
I will
and
now turn the call
there
over
might
to
be
your
issues
host, Ms.
since I have
Eve
just one
Tang
screen.
from
So
Capital Markets.
thanks, despite that
Please
you're
go
joining
ahead.
me, and together going through all of those questions that
morning
we're
and good
having.
evening,
So
everyone.
feel free to post the
Welcome
questions
to
in the
NIO's
comments
second
section. I'll
quarter
do a little bit of a
2023
Q&A
earnings conference call.
after the
The
call,
company's financial and
but surely
operating
we'll be
results
also
were
taking
published
some of
in the
those
press
questions and
release
remarks
earlier
during
today
the call
and are
whenever I
posted
can.
at the company's IR website.
So there'll
On
also
today's
always
call, we
be
have
those
Mr.
parts where they're
William Li,
speaking Chinese
founder,
purely,
chairman of
and I
the
try
board
to
and
listen
chief
to it a little
executive
bit, but
officer,
during the Chinese
Mr.
talking
Stephen Feng,
time,
chief
I have a
financial
little bit
officer, Mr.
room
Stanley Qu,
to
senior VP
speak,
of
and I'll
finance,
give you a
and
couple
Ms.
of my
Jane
remarks and
Hui, VP of
takeaways.
capital
I
markets.
think in my video
Before
yesterday I
we
already
continue,
outlined like
please
what
be
I'm looking
kindly
for.
reminded that today's
Number one,
discussion will contain
margins,
forward-looking
vehicle
statements
margins
that
increasing,
made
and we
under the
got
safe
that. This
harbor
was the
provisions
really
of the
positive
U.S.
surprise here.
Private Securities Litigation Reform
That's
Act
great.
of
I
1995.
also want to know more about the
Forward-looking
battery swapping
statements
stuff, because we have
involve
still those
inherent risks
huge
and
problems here
uncertainties.
with the
As
whole
such,
cash burn
the
situation.
company's
Of course,
actual
that's
results
due to
may
the
be
fact that
materially
they had
different
this
from
huge
the views
slowdown in
expressed
sales,
today.
and
Further
the
information
transition
regarding
and all of
risks
that
and
costing lots of money
uncertainties
with
is
the new
included
models
in
launch.
certain filings
And
of the company with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission.
sorry, I was
The
just
stock
listening in the
exchange
background.
of Hong Kong
And
listed
of course, yeah,
and the
that's weighing
Singapore
on the
Exchange for
performance of
Securities
NIO, on the
Trading
performance of
Limited.
NIO stock,
The
frankly. And there
company
are
does
question
not
marks
assume
whether or
any
not they can
obligation
succeed
to
with this
update
model. And so I
any
want to know more about the
forward-looking
battery swap
statements
station
except as
build-out
required
plans,
under
which
applicable law.
most
Please also
likely
note that NIO's
um,
earnings press
which are
release
most likely
and
going
this
to
conference call include
push in
discussion
this call as
of
well.
unaudited GAAP financial information as well
So in the
as
background, let me
unaudited
just listen to it
non-GAAP
quickly.
financial measures.
Quick sound check. Do you
Please
hear
refer to
the
NIO's
earnings
press
call in the
release,
background
which
now? A
contains
lady
a
speaking.
reconciliation of the unaudited non-GAAP measures to comparable GAAP measures. With that, I will now turn the call over to our CEO, Mr. William Li. William, please go ahead.
大家好，非常感谢各位参加。
All right, now Li Bin starts talking in Chinese. Here's a question. Is it possible that we see the pre-market value during the live conference? Sorry, I can't do that technically here because I can only show one window in the browser here where I'm sharing the sound.
In the second quarter of
So unfortunately,
2023,
that's the
NIO
most
delivered a total of
that I can show for now, but I
23,620
can comment
electric
on that
vehicles.
from now and then, I guess.
7月，随着更多新产
So
品
now they're
上
starting
路
with
并
those
顺利爬坡，
open
未来
remarks,
交付量快
which are
速提
usually
升，
quite
预
boring,
计
and
交
then
付
the
2
CFO
万
reads through the
462
numbers,
辆高
and then
端
we
智
get
能
to
电
the
动汽车，
really
同比
juicy
增长
bit, which will be the
104%，
Q&A sessions.
创月度交付新高。
Maybe they have some
根据
additional
中汽中
prepared
心零售
remarks.
数
We'll
据，
get
7月
there in a
未
second.
来在中国
But
成交
again,
价
I was
30
looking
万以
for
上
weaker
的高
margins,
端电
got
动
that,
汽车
a
市场
nice
排名
bounce
第一，
there,
市场份额
waiting
达
for
到
comments on the battery
59%。
swapping build out
In July
and better
2023,
metrics.
as we started
I'm
mass
waiting
production
for
and ramp
better
up
commentary
of
around
new
the Abu
models,
Dhabi deal.
NIO's
Hopefully
monthly
more
delivery
flavor
volume grew
around why they
rapidly
raised
to
the money the way they have done it.
20,460
I mean, yeah,
units,
of course they need the money. That's
representing a
obvious. That's very
year-over-year
obvious.
growth of
But
104%
raising that at the
and a
lowest
new
cost
monthly
of
high.
NIO stock,
According to the
lowest
retail
stock price
statistics
doesn't
of
make
car
too much
park,
sense to me.
in
They can't be
July,
that
NIO was
desperate,
the best-selling
knowing the
brand in the
company
premium
is now
electric
emerging
vehicle
on this
segment, with a transaction price of
journey
over
where they're kind of,
RMB
you know,
300,000,
changing the
claiming
trajectory,
a
growing
59%
again. So
market share.
得
it
益
was
于未
quite
来产品组
foreseeable
合
that
的
the
逐
stock
步
price
完
would
善，
recover.
销售服务和补贴
Now,
网络的持续
yeah,
扩展，
and then
总体销量
what's
的提
more,
升和营
of
销策
course,
略
the
的落地，
guidance, we've got the
未来
guidance of around
NT2 平台推行的产
55K
品竞
to
争力进一步释放。
57K
2023
it
年
was,
第
so
三季度，
slightly
我
lower
们预计总
beyond
交付量为
below
5
what I
万
think
到
most
5
retail
7千辆。
investors are currently assuming with the
As
20K
NIO completes
each month,
its
so
product
60K.
lineup, further expands the sales and service
And
network and the
yeah,
power
that's the main
network,
things that I'm looking for
enhances its all-round sales
today.
capability,
Hopefully some
and rolls
analysts
out
will ask
sales
these
and
questions.
marketing plans. The competitiveness of the NT2 product
Now I'll
has
give you a
been
little bit
further
more
unleashed.
sound of
The
what
delivery
they're saying.
volume in the third 2023 is expected to be between 55,000 and 57,000 units.
接下来我跟大家交流一下产品研发和运营方面的进展。
And now I would like to share with you the recent highlights of our products, R&D, and operations.
继开启交付旗舰轿跑 SUV EC7、旗舰轿车2023款 ET7 和全新升级的全能 SUV ES6 之后，蔚来于6月开始向用户交付智能电动旅行车 ET5T 以及旗舰 SUV 全新 ES8。蔚来在2季度完成5款新车型的高质量交付，用户满意度超出我们的预期，体现了蔚来快速迭代产品和管理多款产品复杂度的能力。
Following the delivery of the flagship coupe SUV EC7, the flagship sedan 2023 NIO ET7, and the all-round SUV all-new ES6 earlier this year, we started to deliver the smart electric tourer ET5 Touring, or ET5T for short, and the flagship SUV all-new ES8 in June. In the second quarter, NIO achieved high-quality delivery of 5 new models, with user satisfaction exceeding our expectations. This also proves NIO's capabilities of conducting fast product iteration and managing product complexity.
蔚来计划于9月发布和交付全新升级的中型轿跑 SUV EC6， 完成基于 NT2 平台的全部产品切换。蔚来的8款产品将全面进入高端纯电市场。
So currently the stock is trading -6% to -7% in the market. So, you know, investors are still cautious right now on this earnings report. Of course, everyone had low estimations and expectations, but possibly they want more guidance and more clarity from this call first. And NIO, unfortunately, also has a history of bad sell-offs after earnings, right?
To better cater to the diverse needs of the users in the premium and drive the steady growth of deliveries.
蔚来的产品安全性受到国际权威机构的高度认可。2023年7月12日，蔚来智能电动中型轿跑 ET5、智能电动中大型 SUV EL7 在中国市场叫 ES7， 双双获得欧盟新车安全评鉴协会 Euro NCAP 5星安全评级。Euro NCAP 2023年新规启用至今，蔚来是首个达成5星安全评级的汽车品牌。
NIO's product safety has been highly recognized by authoritative institutions worldwide. On July 12, 2023, NIO's smart electric mid-size sedan ET5 and the mid-large SUV EL7, which is called ES7 in China, both obtained the 5-star safety rating from Euro NCAP, making NIO the first car brand receiving the 5-star rating since Euro NCAP adopted the new testing protocols for 2023.
智能驾驶方面，基于全站自研的端到端能力
Right,
和
this
数
is
据
still
闭
the
环，
rather formal part of the earnings call now, so they're going through a range of achievements there. Most of that we already know, the analysts know as well. But yeah, that's just the way it is. Hopefully they have also a couple of pieces in there already, which are more news or exciting. I don't know. I'm hoping for a better sentiment for this call generally than the last call was, in my point of view, one of the worst. The Q1 call was almost as bad as the ones in I don't know the quarter, but in 2019 when they almost skipped the earnings calls.
NIO has made significant progress in the assisted and intelligent driving. User base and engagement continue to grow. At present, over 100,000 new users have activated Navigate on Pilot Plus, or NOP Plus, and have driven on it for over 80 million kilometers. The mileage penetration rate of NOP Plus has reached 53%. In the meantime, we have carried out multiple rounds of early bird program in Beijing and Shanghai for NOP Plus in all operational domains, including in urban environments.
销售和服务网络方面，截至目前，包括
Fun fact, when I was in Shanghai, I met the NIO team and I tried to get access to those beta testing of NOP Beta Plus, so the city parts. I drove the NOP Plus beta, but not the new city pilot one. But unfortunately, I couldn't get this organized. So otherwise, I would have shown you on videos. But yeah, it's difficult. NIO is quite conservative and,
In terms of
trying quite under the radar.
So far, we have 420 NIO House, NIO Space, and pop-up stores in 143 cities, and 304 service centers, as well as 58 delivery centers in 201 cities worldwide. Since July, we have started to take a more active manner in expanding the user touchpoints and sales channels, and enlarging the sales team in China. These actions will further increase our sales capabilities and propelling sales growth.
充换电网络方面，截至目前，我们全球已经累计布局
Okay, increase in sales team. That was also one of the reasons why the cost is going up. And I spoke before that they are not as efficient in sales in regards to sales personnel to actual sales numbers than some of the competitors. So that clearly needs to improve going forward. And by the way, if you just tuned in, this is the live stream of the earnings call. I've previously done a video about the earnings report. You can still watch the recording later on. And here we're going through the earnings call with additional remarks whenever I have time to add something. And there will also be the analyst questions in this call.
As for the charging and swapping network, installed 1,747 power swap stations worldwide and provided more than 27 million battery swaps. Our expressway battery swap network in China consists of 476 swap stations along the 10 major expressways, connecting 68 major cities. We've also deployed over 7,900 power chargers and 9,700 destination chargers. NIO has become the automotive brand with the most public chargers and the most chargers along expressways in China. In the meantime, NIO's charging map has connected with over 1.36 million third-party chargers worldwide.
7月20日，未来开启了
Yeah, no one is doubting that NIO is building out strong infrastructure and that this is one of the main sales points also for them. It's really good. Many others are charging at their charging stations, but of course they also need to start making money with that.
With more options and fulfilling more use cases.
7月 NIO Day 2023申办正式拉开序幕，最终西安由未来用户票选成为 NIO Day 2023的举办城市。
In July, we organized the host city election for NIO Day 2023, and the city of Xi'an was voted by NIO users as the host city this year.
8月20日，我们携手 WWF 祁连山国家公园落成全球首个由光伏电站 V2G 双向充电桩和纯电动汽车组成的 V2G 光伏自循环补能体系。此外，我们还发起了 Clean Parks 公民科学家项目，赋能用户和公众共同参与生物多样保护行动，支持国家公园志愿者体系的建设，共同践行 Blue Sky Coming 的愿景。
On August 20th, we partnered with Worldwide Fund for Nature and Qilian Mountain National Park in installing the world's first photovoltaic self-consumption system with V2G capability. It features solar power stations, V2G chargers, and battery electric vehicles. Moreover, we initiated the Clean Parks Citizen Scientist Program to engage more users and the public in conserving biodiversity and supporting the establishment of a volunteer system for national parks, in hope of striving for a shared vision of blue skies.
资本市场方面，阿
I
联酋
think
阿布扎比
the
政府
remarks
旗下
are
的投资机构
possibly over
CAI
soon, and then the CFO will take over. And I'm hoping the CFO performs a little bit better on this call than last time. He was very shaky, in my point of view. And actually, he's a better CFO than the previous
In
one.
July, NIO received strategic equity investment from Saivon Holdings, an investment vehicle majorly owned by the Abu Dhabi government. The investment package totaled $1.1 billion. In addition, we will also cooperate with a new strategic investor to jointly pursue opportunities in our international business.
虽然当前的市场环境充满挑战，智能电动汽车市场竞争日益激烈，我们在核心技术、产品布局、销售能力、制造和供应链等方面充分做好了迎接挑战的准备。我们相信公司有能力聚焦市场销售策略的执行，推动交付量稳步提升，同时进一步优化成本结构，全面提升运营效率。我们对下半年的市场表现充满期待。
Although the smart EV market is full of challenges and the competition is increasingly fierce, with our continuous efforts in core technologies, product portfolio, sales capabilities, manufacturing, and logistics, we are fully ready to rise to the challenge. We believe that with focused marketing and sales strategy as well as execution, NIO can drive the steady growth of sales and deliveries, while further optimizing the cost structure and enhancing operating efficiency on all fronts. We look forward to NIO's strong market performance in the second half.
感谢大家的支持。现在 Steven
Nice
将为大家
words,
介绍
optimistic,
第二季度的
and
业绩
exactly what they need to do, because otherwise they will have
As always,
problems,
thank you for your
big
support.
problems.
With that, I will now turn the call over to Steven, who will
Now the
provide the
CFO will take
financial
over.
details for the second quarter. Over to you, Steven.
Thank you, William. I will now go over our key financial results for the second quarter of 2023. And to be mindful of the length of this call, I will reference to RMB only in my discussion today. I encourage listeners to refer to our earnings press release, which is posted online for additional details. Our total revenues in the second quarter were 8.8 billion RMB, representing a decrease of 14.8% year-over-year and a decrease of 17.8% quarter-over-quarter. Our total revenues are made up of two parts: vehicle sales.
So now he's just going through those numbers. I think if you want my commentary on that, you can just go and listen to the recording of the live stream that I've done earlier in the ET7. Although there were some technical difficulties, but still, I think it will get you a better picture than actually listening to Steven right now. The juicy bits will now come in a second. After the CFO finish with his remarks right now, there will be the bank analysts asking questions. And yeah, I just said about this CFO, he actually was really good when he started because he took over from the old CFO who mainly managed that NIO is actually listed at the New York Stock Exchange. And he's a different type of CFO. And I noticed how he really turned around the ship, and he did some of the smart deals. For example, also possibly helping with the Hefei agreement deal when getting on board. But I'm still hoping for something similar to happen with this Abu Dhabi deal. Maybe this was one of the smartest deals ever. Maybe they have something untold here that have done why they raised at such a low stock price, and maybe they will announce something that will ultimately also help the stock price, and that was kind of a deal between the two. Because lately this CFO was rather not so smart in his actions, going on TV and publicly stating NIO's goals were to achieve 250,000 sales this year, and saying that early in the year. Why would you say that? Why would you say that? It doesn't make any sense. It's like the expectations were so high going into a drop of sales that was actually announced before in the quarterly calls. That doesn't make a lot of sense. And I think that's where lots of investor disappointment and trust issues are coming from.
Was mainly attributed to changes in product mix, partially offset by the increased battery cost per unit. The increase in vehicle margin quarter-over-quarter was mainly due to decreased promotion discount for the previous generation of ES8, ES6, and EC6. R&D expenses in the second quarter were 3.3 billion RMB, representing an increase of 55.6%.
Yeah, I'm just trying to listen with one ear if he's stating anything new that wasn't already in the report. Other than that, really hoping that in the Q&A he's going to perform a little bit better and being more bullish. Actually, I don't think that this guy should be a bad CFO or called like this. I mean, who am I to call him like that? But there have been some issues in the recent past, and there's lots to explain. Like 2 quarters in a row with 1 billion of cash burn. That's a lot. But it's also very plausible here. So let's look a little bit more optimistic. It's very plausible that we are through the worst. And already the vehicle margin, I mean, this recovery in the second quarter already on that low volume, this is a sign that we're going to get to double-digit vehicle margins next quarter. And then also the bottom line will look much better.
The increase in sales and marketing activities increase the launch of new products. And third, increase rental and related expenses.
Yeah, he's just reading the report so fast. But yeah, let's see if we can hear through this call that they are more optimistic on that. Because I had a feeling, frankly, and tell me what's your feeling, but in the last call, I could really hear in their voices that they were kind of a little bit confused or not very confident. And let's hope we can see that they're now more optimistic going in Q3, Q4, and that should reflect in the call, frankly.
Our balance of cash and cash equivalents, restricted cash, short-term investment, and long-term time deposits was 31.5 billion RMB as of June 30th, 2023. Now, this concludes our prepared remarks. I will now turn the call over to the operator to facilitate our Q&A session.
Thank you.
Right, now finally they get the bank analysts onto the call. Some of them we know, like Jason Edison Yu. And now I'm hoping to get some real answers to the 4 points that I stated before. And once again, if you tuned in newly, this is the live stream of the earnings call. I also did another live stream before. It's a recording now about the report, so you can watch that later as well. And by the way, shout out to all our patrons who make this live stream possible. Now let's hear it.
Recently, I heard you hire a few of the salesperson from other luxury brands such as the BMW, Mercedes, and Audi. So what's the reason you hired the non-NIO salesperson recently, and how is the impact so far for your sales volume increase? We also found that in your third quarter guidance, you actually imply in the August and September will be lower compared to July. So can I know what's the reason behind that? Is because any supply chain issue? Thank you so much.
Wow, this analyst was difficult to understand.
谢谢王斌。我们在今年的大概6月份吧，我们其实还是意识到了一个问题，就是 我们的销售人员的数量和我们的销售能力还是落后于整个市场的这个我们的竞争对手。
speaking about the issues
举个
that
例
they
子来
had
讲，
with
比
the
如说
sales
从
department
宝马、奔驰
and the
这样的
changes
这
they
个旅
made.
游的豪华品牌的角度，
In
高
a
端品牌
second,
的
they
角
will
度来
come
讲，
with the
那么
English
他们的
English
销售人员
translations.
在
They
那
will
个时间
hear
点
it
大体上
firsthand.
是我们的6到
What's the
7倍
answer
左
by
右，
Li Bin
就是
here
整个的
on
销
this
售人员。
analyst question,
那么销售
which
人员
frankly
和
was
销售的
quite
这种 touch point 不够的话
difficult to
呢，
understand.
其
So
实
most of
对
the
我们的
analysts
用
there
户的这
are
个满意
Chinese
度、自驾、
speakers,
转换率各方
some
面
of
影
them
响
in
当
Hong
然是
Kong.
很大的，
So
也
funnily,
根本
not
无
all of
法
them
去满
actually
足
have
我们
mainland China
同时
exposure.
销售7到8
But
的这样的一
that's
个
what it is.
这个销售的这个需求吧，这个
Not
这个
always
很
the
多方面
analyst
说不细，
questions are really good,
所以我
to be
们其实是
honest.
从大体上从7
Let's
月
hope
份
for
开始
some
吧，我们
very
其
tough
实是开
questions
始
here. It's always
全
better
面
to
的
have
提
tough
升我们的
questions.
这个销售能力。我们内部的目标是希望呢，按照这个每个月能够卖到3万台左右去看我们的这个销售人员和我们的一些包括销售的网点呢这样的一些扩展。那
Yeah,
么这
that's
个工
also
作
one
我
of my
们计划是
takeaways
到9
from
月
the
底能
day.
够完成这个扩展的工
Hopefully,
作。
this is
当
a
然这
bit
个
of
指的是销售
sandbagging
的
here,
能力啊，但我
trying
们还要
to
这
not
些人
make
员要
the
招聘到位，要培训
promises
他
too
们，这
high,
些
and this
location
time
我们要
hopefully
去找
being
到这样的一些
meeting
base
or
去
exceeding
达
actually
成这
the
样的一些
guidance
销售
there.
能力。我
And
们
with
希
that,
望
they
在
should
9
have
月
a
底能
chance
初
at it.
步建立这样一个能力，10月份的话呢，能够能够真正开始能够形成这样的一些销能。所以这个其实是我们目前
Wow,
在发现我们的
long
问题，我
answer
们的
by
定义
Li
的
Bin
改
here.
进。所以如果
Usually
去
the
看的话
earnings
呢，
call
我
are
们
going
在这方面的话呢，我们
quite
从
long,
7月份、8月
so
份开始是比
you
较
need to
积极的
finish
在
it
做这
before
样
the
的一些
market
布局
opens
和
again.
扩展。当然这个中间的话呢，在
There
人
will be
员方
lots
面
of
的话呢，特别
translation
到一
work
些
here
下
for
沉
the
市场，比如说
assistant.
地级市啊，一些3、4线城市，我们当然是希望有一些更多的这样
Just
的
from
一
the
些
voice
经
of
验
Li
的销
Bin
售人
here,
员能够
he
加入，
sounds very
特别是他
calm,
们那些用户的基
not
础，
overly
能够
excited,
更好
very
的
rational.
开展这个，虽然我们有的地方没有店铺，但是我们有这样有经
Let's
验的人
see
员能够更好
how
的
this call
帮我们
goes.
去执行这个销售的这个任务啊。这是第一个问题，这是我们正在做的这样一些事情。
Well, thank you, Bing Wang. For your first question, actually, around June, we have realized that inside of the company, in terms of the number of our salespersons, as well as the capabilities of selling products, we are lagged behind by the competitors in the market. For example, for those luxury brands like BMW or Mercedes, the size of their sales team is 6 to 7 times of ours. Without sufficient personnel or touch point, we cannot realize a very good user satisfaction, realize very good test drives, or high conversion rate from leads to orders. So starting from June and July and August, we have taken a more active manners in improving our sales capabilities. And with that, we hope that the company will be able to support the new orders of 30,000 units per month. That will be contributed by our sales network as well as the personnel increase, so that by the end of September, we will be able to realize that target. Of course, it takes time for us to really train the personnel and also to find the locations. So we will have that initial capability ready by the end of September, and then the real effect will kick in from October. That is our existing plan for the improvement. This is also why starting July and August, we've been taking some active measures and actions in expanding our sales network and the touch points, especially in lower tier cities where we don't have a full-fledged facilities or stores. We hope to really secure and hire experienced and seasoned salespersons who have their networks and user bases already to help us with the sales test.
第二个问题就是，如果看我们的指引的话呢，因为我们
Yeah, I'm kind of divided with what they just
就是
mentioned.
如果
So
简单的就看我们的指引的话呢，
increasing the sales team
8月
will
份
definitely
9月
lead
份
to larger
似
sales,
乎是
but
有一些
it's
差
also
距，
about
这个从数字上来
efficiency,
讲
like
是
how
这样。
many sales
但如果我
one
们去
sales
看的
rep
话呢，
can
我们
bring
7月
in.
份，
So
因
I
为
think
你也知
analysts
道我们
and
7月底的
investors
话呢，
will
是有一个
critically
换电权益调整的一
look at
个
this, like how
紧
much
缩啊，
will
就
it
是我们
increase
希望的
also
换电
the
权益。
the
原来
cost
我们
for
有每周
personnel,
4次和
SG&A, and
5
so on,
和6次
and
的
how
换电
much does
权
it
益。
really bring in more
从8
sales?
月1号
But
起，
overall,
新
I
的
agree,
这种
NIO
订
has a
单
problem
就
there.
没
They are
有这个
not
权益了。
as good on
但我们
sales
把
than
有
the
一
others,
些这
and
个
we've seen some
确实对
changes
换
also,
电有
frankly,
刚需的这
when
样
it
一些
comes
用户，
to
那么把他的
you
需
know,
求
for
有一些
example,
提
this
前的释
example
放
when they
啊。
parked
所
a
以这个
NIO
其
just
实
straight
对我
away
们7月
in
份的
front
这
of a
个
Li Auto
对
store.
我们7
That's
月
the
份的
stuff
这
you want
个
to see.
交付的数
Going
量
straight
其
at
实
competition,
有一
becoming more
些有一
competitive.
些
Some
影
of
响
the
的。
NIO sales outlets have been just too far off the main roads or the high streets. So they have identified this problem and now they're tackling it. But they mentioned that in October we possibly see the outcomes of that. But yeah, not sure. It's not something where you just solve it by throwing new people at it, I would say.
这个其实跟6月份、7月份相比的话呢，是有显著的一个提升，也能看到我们在销能方面的一些布局所取得的一些进展。那么从这些试驾到订单的转化，它是需要有些时间的啊，这个我们也需要一点点耐心。总的来说的话呢，我们对于这个需求的这个保持稳定稳定的增长，我们还是有信心的。当然，近期的呢，外部环境也有一些压力，这个从宏观的经济各方面来讲也有些压力啊。那我们在
This strategy is still on, and NIO is one of the best companies in terms of getting user recommendations and word-of-mouth car sales. So I think that's actually the main point where people are getting and becoming new customers currently, but the sales network is what's lagging, and that's what they are tackling now. So maybe that has also to do with reaching a certain size of the company, right? Of course, it will be supported by this happiness and word-to-mouth KPI, but you also need just plain sales and stuff for this. I think that's also necessary at the same time.
这个销售能力的准备，能够去加快这样一个转化。
And regarding your second questions, in July we have delivered more than 20,000 vehicles, and as shown by our guidance, our delivery volume in August and September are lower than that in July. This is mainly because by the end of July we have announced the adjustments to our Power Swap user benefits. Before, users enjoy or are entitled to 4 or 6 free swaps per month, but starting from August 1st, all the new orders are not entitled to free swaps anymore. This also helps us to put ahead some orders or users with strong demand for Power Swap in July, and this has also affected the delivery volume in July. In terms of the August, we believe that it will take some time for the order momentum and intake to be back to the normal track. But in the meantime, in August, we've also witnessed a new high of the numbers of test drives and leads. Average speaking, during the weekends, we have more than 10,000 test drives. This represents a significant growth from the past month. And in the meantime, we also understand that it will take some time for the test drive to be truly converted into orders, and we will wait for that. But overall speaking, we are very confident in stabilizing the order intake as well as the delivery volume. In the meantime, we also needed to understand the external challenges, especially the challenges and the pressure from the macroeconomic environment. So our forecast and guidance have also considered that those external factors. But overall speaking, we are confident in the delivery volumes we provided. Also, we must understand that in July, inside of the premium battery electric vehicle segment priced over 300,000 RMB, we have already realized the 59% market share. This has proven a very solid foothold of NIO in this segment, and we will continue to make efforts in transforming and converting ICE users into buying EVs in the premium segment. In this case, we will also make more efforts in expanding our channels and touch points.
Thank you, Wang Bin.
Thank you.
The next question comes from Tim Hsiao of Morgan Stanley. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks for taking my question. So my first question, basically just want to follow up regarding the sales volumes into second half, because as William just mentioned, we successfully upgraded our sales team and sales network. So looking into fourth quarter, I recall that we expect our monthly sales can stay above 20,000. So if that's the case, looking into fourth quarter, should we expect NIO to grow the sales further to above 20,000 or even like 25,000? And what could be the contribution from the 4 volume driving models covering like ET5, ES6? So could you just provide some update regarding volume? And my second question is about the gross profit margin, because according to the management's previous guidance, I think the vehicle gross profit margin could get back to double digit in the second half. So after the 30,000 RMB cut in late June, do you still stick to your previous view on sequential margin expansion into second half? What would be the pace in the quarter and fourth quarter respectively? That's my second question. Thank you.
好，谢谢 Tim。第一个问题，我们还是
Okay, before Libin asks,
每个月的销
as
量
long as Libin is
在
answering in
2万 以
Chinese,
上，这个
this
交付量
analyst question,
是我们的目标。
I want to
也是按照
come back to the other question that he answered regarding giving more context about the guidance, which came a little bit in lower than the 60K. So everyone was kind of aiming at the 20K, but they kind of said like, you know, look guys, July was a little bit higher because many people are rushing to buy it before those new limitations on free battery swapping set in. And this kind of confirms what I said before, that, you know, yeah, sandbagging it a little bit here in a way of providing not a bad guidance, but slightly lower guidance than most people possibly would assume right now. And they're not going out in earnings call now and pushing for something better. We'll see. I think the August deliveries could still reach 20K based on today's numbers. But yeah, the expectations are definitely set low, and now by what you've been just mentioned around the intake of orders and July versus August and September. Could be good in a way if we exceed the expectations. That could be bad if this kind of results in a more sluggish two numbers coming forward, right? So let's see.
那总的来说呢，5566我们总的量我们还是认为在15000到2万之间大概在这么一个 range 这个我们还是有信心的。当然7778这个增加的部分，这个还是我们。
So Libin tends to have very long answers today. So let me just welcome everybody again to this live stream.
Thank you, Tim, for your
And now we
question.
got the
Regarding your
translation in
first
English.
question, of course, we target to realize and stabilize our monthly delivery to be above 20,000 units starting Q4 this year. But in the meantime, we are also preparing our sales capability so that we can support the new orders of 30,000 units per month. In this case, we are expanding our channels and also personnel. As I've mentioned, we will be acquiring these initial capabilities by the end of September, and we will take some time for the preparation and the ramp up. We believe that the effect of our sales capability improvement will be kicking in from October and November, with positive progress from that time point. In terms of the reference to the NT1 product we've experienced, normally we realize that it will take around 1 to 2 years for the new product to reach a sound and stable volume on the monthly basis. For example, for our first generation ES6, it was launched in 2019, and it was not until 2021 that it has a rather stable and sound monthly delivery. So we are very confident with our new products. In terms of the volume products, including ET5, ET5P, ES6, and EC6, these are 4 volume products. For the EC6, it will be delivered starting September, and it will take some time for the production and the delivery ramp up. But within its own segment, it will be dominating the major market share. So with these 4 models combined, we believe that its monthly volume will be stabilized at around 15 to 20,000 units. In terms of higher volume, higher series products like EC7, ET7, ES7, as well as ES8, we are expecting also increments on their sales volume.
Yeah, Stanley will answer the second question.
Yeah, hi Tim. Regarding the gross profit margin, as shown in our Q2 financials, the vehicle margin is 6.2%, similar with Q1. The key reasons are sales and production volume at a lower level, driving higher manufacturing costs and other cost allocation, and also more promotions to the users and also marketing efforts during the product transition period. But along with our sales and volume wrap up of all our NT2 products, our target is to achieve the double-digit gross profit margin in Q3 and 15% in Q4 if we can control the battery cost and other costs well. So
yeah, 降价的影响已经在里面消化掉。
Yeah.
So we have already digested the impact of the price reduction.
Got it. Thank you very much, William and Stanley. Thank you.
Thank you, team.
Thank you, team.
The next question comes from Yuquan Ding of HSBC. Please go ahead.
Thanks, team. Yuquan here. I got two. First question is, we practically have all the models are now refreshed and then newly launched based on 2.0 platform. 8 model is pretty comprehensive coverage. We will be expecting strong ramp up in the coming 6 months in a visible way. But how do we expect the key growth drivers if we're looking at 12 to 18 months, especially in terms of new product? How do we fill in the already comprehensive product portfolio, or the software going to be the next leg of growth? The second question is on the OPEX side. So this year we have new model launches and we have the sales channel upgrade. But next year, when we're rolling into next year, could we see the absolute OPEX value dialed down a little bit? Thank you.
OK， 谢谢于倩。对第一个问题的话呢，我们确实在9月份的话，我们 NT2 的8款产品就已经都这个 launch 了。
So again, the CFO wasn't very outgoing in highlighting that the vehicle margin already in this quarter was better than in the last quarter, despite the fact that the revenues or the vehicle sales were much lower. I think that's actually a strong point of this current report, where we have not many strong points, to be honest, right? And so, yeah, we got the confirmation now, double-digit margins on the vehicle margin side, starting from next one, and Li Bin also threw in his addition, like, well, we've digested also the price reductions given through the cutting away of the battery swapping for lifetime free stuff, right? So now you can get the ET5 cheaper, for example. And so, yeah, that will clearly help for the gross margin ultimately, because it helps to pay some of the R&D and some of the SG&A when we get more money on the cars sold on a higher volume. So hopefully see that recovery. And that's why the next analyst now asked also this, I think, good question regarding the OPEX guidance. Like, you know, what will be the operational costs going forward? Of course, they want to build out more battery swap stations, but at some point, also R&D needs possibly to come down again a little bit. The question is, like, how much have they spent already on the topic of the sub-brands and all of the new models? So for sure, lots of the R&D cost currently is about those R&D initiatives for the new models, the testing, and so on. But also for the new initiatives, including the phone, including the chips, including battery, some of it held back. But how much for the sub-brands, right?
Regarding your first question, as you may know that starting from September, we will launch our EC6 into the market. And with that, all 8 models on the NT2 platforms will be launched to the market. And over the past several months, we have launched 5 brand new models plus a facelift. In such a short time frame, we are able to realize the high quality deliveries of these models. This has also demonstrated our R&D efficiency as well as the strong execution. But in the meantime, we also need to realize that it's a challenge brought by the smart electric vehicles to the entire industry, as in a very short time frame, we need to catch up to the changes of all the smart technologies. But in the meantime, for all the NT2 products, we're looking at more software features to be updated and released. For example, our new assisted and intelligent driving. For the coming month, we will be rolling out some new features and also services. This will help us to improve the competitiveness of the product. And also, as we've mentioned, we are developing the sales capabilities inside of the company so that we can reach out to broader channels with more salespersons. and support the new orders of 30,000 units per month. This will also be a very concrete foundation for the continuous growth of the sales and the deliveries in the coming months. If you look at our 8 models on the NT2 platform, they are already covering 80% of the needs in the premium market. And also, we have also adjusted our organizational structure starting from the third quarter, so that from the headquarters to the regional companies, we will be having dedicated teams managing and responsible for each of the model across the life cycle. This is also the efforts we've made from the sales and marketing perspective.
Hi, Yuqian. Regarding the OPEX of next year, the next year, the budget for us has not been ready. So at this moment, I may not be able to give you the precise number, but I can give you some feeling. Regarding the R&D expense, as introduced in last quarters, on average, each quarter this year, the non-GAAP R&D investment will be RMB 3 to 3.5 billion. For this year. I think for next year, we will keep similar like investment R&D activities. And regarding the SG&A expense, as explained by William, we have the relatively more aggressive sales target for the second half of this year. I think should be for next year. So the absolute value for SG&A will grow accordingly, since we need more market activities and events. But the percentage of total sales revenue, I think, will decline compared with the first half of this year, and also the whole year of 2023, because of the improvement in both delivery volume and also operating efficiency. Thank you, Yuqian.
The next question comes from Jeff Chung of Citi. Please go ahead.
Hey, 你好，李总。Hello, I have 2 questions. First question is our refinancing plan going forward. And the second question is our cash flows projection into the third quarter and fourth quarter. So why I am asking this is because we saw the first quarter, the net cash outflow was 10.6 billion, but improved to a cash outflow of 5.9 billion in the second quarter. And within the second quarter, we also saw the inventory Q-on-Q delta of around 5 billion, while the account payable, account receivable remained stable. So that said, if the third quarter inventory came down, plus the operating leverage with a volume hike, whether we should see the cash outflow should be significantly narrowing further. This is my first question. And my second question is about the third quarter and fourth quarter GP margin guidance. When can we return to a 10% or double-digit level, as well as the third quarter, fourth quarter SG&A as a percentage of the revenue guidance? That's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Stanley, please answer the first question.
Regarding the cash flow, I think regarding the cash flow and also the refinancing plans, I think several points about this. One is regarding operating cash flow. I think as the delivery volume ramp up from Q3 this year, our operating cash flow will be significantly improved compared with Q1 and Q2 of this year. And we also carried out a series of measures to control the CapEx investment and also manage our investment cadence prudently, like delay or cancel of certain CapEx investments. This will also help us to manage the healthy cash flow. And additionally, as explained in William's comments, we received $740 million strategic investment from CYVN. And we also completed the offering of our first off-balance sheet ABS in Q3. I think both our US dollar and also RMB financing channels remain unobstructed. And all those will enable us to keep a healthy cash position and support the ongoing business development of the company. And regarding the refinancing plan, we will disclose our plan accordingly if there is any capital market related updates. But at this moment, I think we don't have the precise information to communicate with you. Yeah, that's the first question regarding the cash flow and also refinancing plan. The second is for this year's margin. Yeah, for this year's margin, I think we have explained in the previous questions. And for Q3, our target is to achieve the double-digit gross profit margin, and Q4 is 15%. And for SG&A guidance, I think the absolute value will grow along with our delivery volume and sales growth. But its percentage of total revenue will decrease. But according to the market situation, the adjustment and change of our marketing strategy will be quite dynamic. So at this moment, I cannot give you a precise guidance about the percentage of SG&A over sales revenue. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. Just a correction here. I mentioned the inventory Q-on-Q delta was 5 billion, which was wrong. I just checked it. The Q-on-Q delta was only 2 billion. That's it from my side. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, welcome. Thank you.
The next question comes from Ming-Hsun Lee of Bank of America. Please go ahead.
谢谢管理层。So I have two questions. The first question is, currently you have 8 products to cover the majority of the luxury car segment. So could you give more guidance on any of the new product plans next year under the NIO brand as well as the Alpes brand? And the second question is, what is your latest business progress for the mobile business? Thank you.
谢谢明。明年 NIO 的 brand 不会交付新的这个全新产品啊，当然我们会有一些年度的产品改进。
This was a long time with English commentary, so I start my comments. Just a couple of words. I mean, the CFO knew these comments or questions would be asked. One of them was really unnecessary. This analyst didn't listen clearly before, because this guidance to the double-digit margins and 15% margins was given before. I would be more happy if the CFO was a little bit more outgoing and stating more than the obvious. The obvious is that yes, SG&A will grow a little bit when sales ramp up, but yes, the percentage is going, so the ratio is going to stay lower. They don't really say how they're going to do it. Maybe they really at this point don't know it yet exactly. They said like it's going to be a fluid situation. I was rather happy with his comments about yes, that the cash flow is going to improve a lot in Q3, and that was a much better answer, I think, than what he previously answered around the next year guidance regarding the OPEX, which I think was a good question, and the cash flow situation. So, yeah, pretty vague there.
Thank you for your question. For new brand, actually, we don't plan to launch any new products in the year of 2024. Of course, we will still roll out some routine facelifts or product upgrades, but we haven't planned any new products for next year because we think that it's more important for us to stay focused on our existing 8 products on the NT2 platform to continuously improve its qualities and also market performance. Just like in 2021, we didn't launch any new models, but still we have realized a very good gross margin, sales volume, as well as quality performance. So that's the plan for the brand of NIO. In terms of our mass market brand, Alps, we plan to launch the very first model from Alps in the second half of next year. Right now, the R&D activities are proceeding according to the plan. Actually, we have just rolled out the verification build of the first model from Alps. And this model will be highly competitive in its product segment.
当然，这个 Alps 的开发的理念和 NIO 的话呢，会有一些不一样啊。因为 Alps 的话呢，它是面向 mass market， 所以我们会追求每一款车的这个销量啊，这个它的总的每一款车的销量，我们的款数不会太多。那我们第2款车已经在开发的过程中。那么 NIO 的话呢，因为是针对 premium 的市场，我们认为这个个性化的需求是用户非常重要的一个需求啊，就像这个
Mercedes 和 improvement on the cost base will come naturally once everything now is on the new platform. That's why they're guiding through the higher margins as well. So this will be realized through better scales of economies of scale, and the cost reduction will just come naturally at this point.
方向可以去跟大家做一些交流。那当然，手机的话呢，我们确实是围绕着 NIO 的用户，特别是第2代车型的这样的一些用户，我们有非常多的以车为中心的这样一些移动。
Good point. Yeah, NIO was facing lots of complications and quite a difficult supply chain to manage, especially also with this transition phase. We see that everyone has problems when they transition between models. Let's hope they have now a little bit more of a calm time with bringing out those models and launching them and continuously ramp them up. That's what they just mentioned. They had a similar phase in 2021 when they had growth and nice margins. That's what they're expecting going forward for the NIO brand and for the NT 2.0 models.
也是匹配的。所以我们目前计划是9月下旬会交付手机的产品。
And also for the brand of Alps, its R&D philosophy is different from that of NIO. Alps is targeting at the mass market, and we will not have many products in the lineup for Alps. But for NIO, it's different. It is targeting at the premium segment where we care more about the personalization and also the differentiations of the products. Just like Mercedes and BMW in China, they're selling 40, 50 models. That is a unique character of the premium segment. But for Alps, for the mass market, it will be more family oriented, and we will also care more on the sales volume of each model launched by Alps. In terms of our phone business, our mobile phone will be developed mainly for our new users, especially the users of our NT2 products. And the phone itself is developed centering on the vehicles, but with better mobility and connectivity experience. We are actually believing that with the phone business, it can help us to improve the competitiveness of our vehicle products, because our phone business is not to compete with those phone makers. Instead, we would like to use the phone as a carrier to provide the best experience for our vehicle users. Moreover, the underlying software and the underlying logic between the phone and the cars share quite a lot of similarities. In terms of the launch plan for the phone, we plan to introduce our first phone product in the second half or in the late September.
Thank you.
The next question comes from Paul Gong of UBS. Please go ahead.
Thanks for taking my questions. So, two questions here. The first question is regarding the sales channel. You mentioned that you are going to expand it. You feel it's behind of the BMW and Mercedes-Benz in terms of the channel as well as a salesperson. But how does it compare to other EV startups? Are we ahead or are we behind? And how much do you think about the expansion of the store network and the sales personnel versus the sales efficiency improvement? And you also mentioned you are going to reach 30,000 monthly sales capability. How does that compare to today? Is it fair to assume currently we have the capability to sell 20,000 monthly sales, given we already achieved that in July, and expanding would be about 50% compared to today to 30,000? How does this mathematics work? This is my first question. The second question is regarding the battery swap versus fast charging, given the batteries, the semiconductors, as well as even the charging piles, DC charging stations. All this seems to be rolling out with the industrial effort. I understand it's good to have both the battery swap as well as the fast charging, but would you consider the rolling out of the fast charging kind of weaken the battery swap convenience and the competitive edge of new cars? Thank you.
OK， 谢谢 Paul。对我们和一些目前销量比较高的这样一些新的创业公司相比的话，如果我们看到6月底的纯粹销售
While Li Bin answers in Chinese, just quick comment about the new phone. Maybe if you watch some of my videos about this matter, I think it's a strategic move to defend against phone makers who are breaking into the industry. Huawei and Xiaomi, by the way, Huawei doing an excellent business or excellent job, I think. And it's really a kind of a risk there as an EV startup. If you want to have your own system ecosystem like NIO does, the Huawei one is very competitive, and Xiaomi maybe also has lots of power. And so it's about to control the user experience, which will be increasingly not only about the car, but also other devices like the phone. And for NIO, this is also an exercise to get to an operating system that also works mobile. Because currently, the operating system by NIO isn't, let's say, it's not there yet, right? There is room for improvement. And I think the NIO phone will push it hard because it will essentially create a new operating system that is much leaner and works on different devices, and therefore is better on the user experience, and this will make the product more competitive. And in the future, where Huawei has more partners who have cars that run on the Hongmeng operating system, in that case, NIO has something competitive to relate to, and maybe some of the others don't, right? And so NIO can make sure to offer a premium to luxury experience there still, while not lagging behind. So it's not about the phone sales, in my point of view, not at all, actually. That's why they said we're not going to compete with the phone makers. It's really more about where they see the industry is going, the automotive industry, which is increasingly not only about the car itself, but much more about the entire touch points and ecosystem. So that's the real reason, in my point of view, for the NIO phone.
Thank you for your questions. If you look at the size of the sales teams in comparison to other EV startups in China, actually by the end of June, the size of our sales team is only half of those of other companies. Of course, in terms of the service network, we have specialists and teams working for the power swap stations, roadside services, as well as at the new houses. So for the service and the community part, we have a bigger team than other EV startups. But when it comes to the actual salesperson, in our company, we call them fellows. In terms of the number of fellows, we are actually have a much smaller team than all the other companies in the industry. In April and May this year, our delivery volume was not very high. By then, we didn't really realize the importance of the sales capabilities or taking any actions. But starting from June, as we ramp up our delivery volumes, we gradually realized that the insufficient self-teams has affected the satisfaction and also the executions of many things, including test drive and also order conversions. That's why starting from July, we have started to develop our self channels as well as the self-teams. For comparison, to ramp up to the comparable sites, we believe that we need around 5,000 people working on the sales team. But of course, it takes time for us to have that many people on the team and also to train them with the corresponding capabilities. In terms of the delivery volume in July, we have delivered more than 20,000 cars, but that demonstrated our capability in terms of the deliveries, which is relatively easier than realizing sales capabilities.
另外一点，我想强调一下渠道。我们目前呢，
This was,
从 NIO 来讲
I
的
think,
话
so
呢，
far my highlight from this earnings call in a positive way. This is very bullish. If it's true that NIO's sales team really is much smaller than that of the EV competitors, that means that's explaining a lot regarding the sluggish sales performance at sometimes and room for improvement. To be really honest, and I need to make another video on that, I actually had different information on that. I had the information that NIO team is generally larger, but that might relate to the whole team. But I will look it up because I have some, might be some not official information about the team sizes. And in that, I thought NIO is lagging behind, for example, Li Auto and Xiaopeng in terms of efficiency because they had less employees, but relatively more sales per employee than NIO did. But what Li Bin just said is actually the opposite. So we need to see which of the numbers are correct, and I'll have to look into my data source again. Maybe I also misread it. So stay tuned for another video on this topic, and make sure to like and subscribe to this video so I'm not missing out on that update, which will be a video dedicated to the matter of sales efficiency. But huge point here, good takeaway.
Another thing is about the channels. If you look at our sales distribution, Jiangsu, Zhejiang, and Shanghai, these three places basically contribute half of our sales volume. But for other provinces, like in Anhui, the capital city itself is contributing around 80 to 90% of the sales volume. If we take Anhui as an example, for other brands like BMW or Mercedes, half of their sales volume in Anhui province is contributed by cities outside of outside of Hefei, and they basically have dealership stores in all the cities in Anhui province. And for us, we've just opened our new house in the second largest city in Anhui province, that is in Wuhu. In this case, we really need to take efforts in increasing our penetrations into the lower tier cities. In addition to the sales channels, we are also developing and expanding our power swap networks into more cities. For the past several months, we've been developing our power swap stations in a much faster manner. And in August, we expect that we will deploy and install more than 100 power swap stations. Of course, it will take time for all these measures to kick in, but this investment will be very important for our long-term capability.
第二个问题就是换电和充电的关系。事实上来讲，我们一直都是坚持可充可换可升级的一个整体的理念。我们是根据用户的场景和用户的体验，去给它打造最好的这样的一个充换电的这样。
Yeah, still waiting for the subscription numbers and that sort of stuff. But generally, let's keep expectations low for Europe. 10,000, that's the rough number, not to expect more than this for the entire year. But what's happening here is the infrastructure build out, of course. And yeah, I'm currently experiencing the NIO ET7. We'll be also switching to other models in the future, so stay tuned for that. And surely I'm going to cover what's happening here in Europe. But yeah, it's been, especially last year, below the expectations, right? So I personally had high expectations for the initial launch, but let's see, possibly it's more sustainable, first bringing the ecosystem and the infrastructure and so on, and then based on that, roll out sales. The big battleground is China for sure.
Regarding your second question about power swapping versus faster charging, as we've always mentioned that chargeable, swappable, and upgradable have been the philosophy of our power solutions, and we've been choosing the optimal solutions and also the best experience for our users based on the actual scenarios and use cases. And as we are developing our power swapping network, we are also the automotive brand with the most public chargers in China, as I've mentioned in my opening remark. Of course, we believe that with the development of the fast charging technology, it will also help us with the power swap operations as it can improve the service capacity of the swap stations. Not to mention that many of the stations we've installed as of today are integrated stations featuring both chargers as well as power swap. So in terms of the power swapping and the faster charging, we've also had many discussions between these two technologies, but we believe that so far power swapping is still having a much better experience than faster charging, and it will continue to be a very unique advantage and the competitiveness of NIO.
This was the point where
thank you very much. That's very helpful. Yeah, thank you.
Brought in some more insights around
thank you, William.
the possibilities of battery swapping, which I was looking forward to hear, also regarding grid balancing and stuff like that. But yeah, not for this earnings call.
Okay, thank you for your sharing. I have two following up questions. The first is about our other sales revenue and profit margin. As we can see that after our policy adjustment, what is our expectation for the future revenue and also profit margin for other sales after our battery swap started to gain money, gain profit, and in particular, do we have any internal calculation of the profitability of the battery swapping business? So what is the upward trend of our gross profit margin for other sales in the following few quarters? And when will it turn positive? This is my first question. And my second is about the technology improvement. We have always been focused more on R&D investment and also technology accumulation. So looking forward, regarding to our next generation platform, NT3, so what improvement can we expect, or what are the major areas of our effort to put in? So can you just share a few insights or information about that? This is my two questions. Thank you.
Hi, Jing. This is Danny. Regarding your first question about the other sales revenue and margin, as you mentioned, we canceled the free battery swap policies in Q3. So therefore, there will be more users to pay for battery swap services. And as the sales keep growing, we think more battery swap service revenue can be realized. But since it's only 1 month from the policy adjustment, so we still need some time to observe and assess the impact of this policy change. Second is with the power swap station, the third generation put into operation starting from this April. We will accelerate the deployment of the power swap station in the following quarters. And for this year, our plan is to build 1,000 stations. But at current stage, the capacity won't be fully utilized. So the losses from the accelerated construction of power swap station will increase. So I think that's basically the guidance for the other sales revenue. Yeah.
Yeah, 我们如果去看换电的这个业务的话，事实上它的效率本身，换电本身的效率还是非常高的。如果我们去看这些或者毛利，跟我们以前免费换电里面，我们电费也是含在里边的。如果我们放在一个从服务费的角度去看的话，我们现在的换电
On a positive side, so far, no real shockers in this earnings call. Like I mentioned in the Q1, they gave us all of the bad news, really shocking insights for investors. So far, it's pretty much all in what we know already. And they're not too much outgoing and too much pushing here. Maybe a little lesson that they've learned. But yeah, missing a little bit of depth, a little bit some more concrete answers on some of these endless questions here. Let's see what Li Bin now has to say about battery swapping and business around that.
Actually, the inherent efficiency of the power swap business is pretty high. Before we have negative margin on this part, it's mainly because when we were offering free power swaps, the electricity costs were also included in that offering. But now we are charging that separately. In addition, we are also charging our users 30 RMB per swap as the service fee. Actually, we are seeing growing demand for such charged power swap services, especially many used car users. They are actually using this service. So the percentage for the users to use the paid swap service is also growing. It's mainly a business for the existing users and existing population. For the third generation power swap stations, we've also done a rough calculation. When it completes 60 swaps per day, it basically can be breaking even, and its service revenues will be covering its operating costs. Right now, around 20% of our third generation stations are able to realize such performance and capability. So for the long run, we believe that power swap is also a sustainable business, as in addition to offering power swap services, we also have other diversified business models, like we can leverage the energy storage.
那从第二个问题，从 NT3的研发的角度来讲，当然一方面提高我们这个
Okay, so far just mentioned the energy business, but not much on that, but generally guided to it becoming a financially sustainable business, also breaking even. That's good to hear, and also good to hear that the numbers of users are increasing for swap station in percentage relative to charging, despite the fact that are now becoming a paid service. So that's what I wanted to hear. This is really one of those nuggets in this calls, to be honest.
Regarding the second question about our next generation technologies, of course, we will be leveraging our full stack capabilities developed in-house. With that, we will continue to improve the experience and also the performance of our products. And we believe that this will give us a strong product competitiveness worldwide. And also the continuous investment into the research and the development of the core technologies will also help us to optimize and improve the vehicle margin, as well as improving the efficiencies of our operations and R&D.
Thank you, Jing.
Okay, thank you. That's all for my question. Thank you.
The next question comes from Edison Yu of Deutsche Bank. Please go ahead.
Hi, thank you. I have one question. I'm wondering, what is the management team's openness to embarking on some more strategic action? We've obviously seen a lot of activity from the European OEMs in China trying to revive or restructure their efforts. And I also think in the context of, I think NIO has made some mistakes. We talked a lot about sales, the sales force today. We had a lot of supply issues last year, many of which are related actually to more traditional auto side. Could we perhaps benefit actually from having some more closer strategic relationships with some of the OEMs out there? Thank you.
谢谢 Edison。当然，我们对各种的合作当然是开放的啊，这个毫无疑问的。我们当然目前没有任何的信息啊，需要跟大家沟通。从一个方向的角度来讲，当然我们现在的智能化的技术，我们的充换电网络，当然这个我们相信对整个行业
Some good questions at the end to this call. So far, let me recap one of the gold nuggets in here were vehicle margin already up despite terrible volumes down. Second one was stating that the sales team is smaller than that of competitors, needs to ramp up. And the third one, talking about those things around battery swapping and those positive metrics and KPIs. That's what I've been waiting for. So the only one I didn't get answered so far is about the Abu Dhabi deal. But other than that, I pretty much got what I wanted so far from this earnings call. Let's see what he is going to answer now to this question by Edison. I'm sure he cannot say too much, to be honest. An earnings call is not the way to announce something like this. But I will meet Edison next week at Munich at the AR.
Speaking, we are very open to all kinds of cooperations with the peers in the industry. But so far, we don't have much information to update or share with you. But if you look at our smart technologies as well as our charging and swapping networks, actually, we aim to use these technologies to catalyze the transformation of the entire industry. As we've also announced at the Power Day 2023, we are willing to open up our next generation battery technologies as well as our charging and swapping networks to the entire industry. Right now, we're in some initial communications with certain OEMs. They are also thinking about using our battery technology for swapping networks. But to use that technologies, they need to adapt their products to our standards, which can take some time for them to make the final decisions. But overall speaking, we are very open to all kinds of cooperation.
那我想补充一下，事实上来讲，我们的充电网络，80%以上的这种电量都是由蔚来以外的这些汽车。
Yeah, as expected, he couldn't say much about this. That's for sure. All I know is that there was already an announcement prepared, but was also, be postponed a little bit. We'll see. Can fail at any given time, as he mentioned. Like they need to make a final decision. So this is not easy in all of the board meetings of Legacy. We'll see if something comes out or not. Generally, you need to know that NIO is at the forefront in China with the patents and technology, and also part of the industry consortium in China to get the standards done.
Charging network, so far, 80% of our electricities are actually charged for the non-NIO users. Maybe you've also read this on news recently in Xinjiang's Serim Lake. Because it's such a popular tourist spot, we have to limit access to our public chargers for the non-NIO users at certain time frames, and that caused some complaints by the non-NIO users. But overall speaking, it's also a very good example showing our existing charging and swapping facilities are helping many EV users, not just the users of the NIO.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Edison.
As there are no further questions now, I'd like to turn the call back over to the company for any closing remarks.
Thank you once again for joining us today. If you have a...
All right, that's it, guys. Overall, this was a good call. First of all, they didn't bombard us with bad news this time. The last call was a freaking disaster, in my point of view. You had like 4 really big points which they pointed out there, which came out of the dark or out of the blue, however you want to call it, and were really smashing it, not in a good way, to be honest. And the communication wasn't great as well. This time, the communication still isn't super on point, I would say. For example, I pointed out some of the CFO comments where I think he can definitely anticipate such kind of questions and have a little bit more of a straightforward answer, something that gives us a little bit more fantasy, but no, not only fantasy, but also straight facts. But it's mostly just a little bit of guidance here and there, and not too concrete. And then also in a way how it's communicated, not super confidence instilling. But they have possibly learned some lessons now with previously going out and guiding too high and now missing. And I've got a feeling this time that's why they come out with a little bit lower guidance for Q3. We're not as pushy on this call and gave some good nuggets in there. Once again, I have to repeat myself. I like that the vehicle margin is already up this quarter despite lower revenues overall and lower sales. So this is pointing that we will be very likely to achieve the double-digit vehicle margins already in next quarter and can continue our growth there back to hopefully healthy levels. Because frankly, we need to really have a higher margin to pay off all of these investments in R&D and SG&A, which they guided towards will, of course, also be growing a little bit when they build up more battery swap stations and so on. So they cannot continue to burn cash like this. But on the other hand, it's very, very likely that this was the worst quarter in terms of net income or net loss, and also in, well, margins possibly last quarter when it comes to vehicle margin, this quarter possibly when it comes to gross margin. I would expect that with the Q3 earnings, it's going to look much better. I really liked those unexpected insights about that the sales team of NIO is too small and they're expanding it. I had different information on that. And for me, it's really also not about only getting the team bigger, but also about increasing the efficiency of sales. If they have that high on their agenda, then that's great news, because then this unlocks some potential for future sales. But of course, that's an unknown. Will they be able to manage that? Well, it's a bet, right? So it's quite risky, I have to say. If you're investing in the stock, you need to be aware of that risk that they could possibly fail at locking in those sales. And I think that's also the main reason why the shorts haven't left the boat yet, right? Because they still think, if the sales are not going as strong in the future quarters, then NIO will get problems with their cash balance. So that's why they haven't left yet. And NIO needs to perform on that. That's very, very clear. Then the next insight I loved was about the battery swapping. I said I want more metrics on that and a little bit of talk about profitability in this area and also the energy business. They didn't say a whole lot about the energy business in this call. Maybe something for the future as well, or reserved to the VP Shen Fei for him to talk about. But I liked the insights by Li Bin here, which he gave us that, he was a little bit speaking out of the box here by saying that more people are choosing battery swaps still, despite the fact that they're now charging for it, and that it's going to be a financially sustainable business in the future as well. So all in all, could have been much worse. We knew that the report is going to be worse, bad, and we knew investor expectations are quite low. And I think the likelihood is much higher for a better Q3 than a probability for a bad quarter in Q3, right? So I think that's something to look forward to. But what we need is the sustainability, right? So that's it. And regarding my expectations for the IAA, well, I'm going to be there. I have no expectations, to be honest. NIO's not displaying cars. I don't think, well, Li Bin is going to be there. I'm not sure if I can meet him. Let's see. Maybe I can pass him up again, like last time at Shanghai Auto Show. I bumped into him by accident, and maybe he's going to hide when he sees me because he knows I'm going to ask the questions for the retail investors here, but let's see. I'm not terribly sorry about the fact that they're not going to display cars, but let's see. The fact that he is one of the OEMs speaking with all of the German CEOs definitely highlights the importance of Li Bin and NIO there. All I can say is that all of the German OEMs are really benchmarking NIO, and they are looking at what NIO is doing, and that even in a way more than what Tesla is doing, frankly. But NIO's home turf is China. That's where they need to perform. In Europe, it's going to be hard for them and take some time. And let's hope they can perform in China. Right. That's it from my side. Thanks for sticking around. This was a live stream, and it's going to be available as a recording for everyone who tuned in later. And then also, please watch my other video, which was live streamed out of our ET7 going here to Munich, where I am now. And I hope you can have lots of insights from this and possibly have to do some follow-up videos about these insights that we got here. And again, shout out to the patrons. You guys rock. You make this channel alive, and I can stay independent. And I love the support. And you can also support this by liking and sharing. And so thanks for everybody tuning in, and let's hope that the market is not as bad as usual after earnings. NIO has this tendency to sell off, but who knows? Investors should be forward-looking, and there's something to look forward to. So thanks for watching. See you in my next videos, and bye-bye.